Lego and video games are what we use to escape reality, and although Lego has tried to capture the charm of video games, I'm still waiting for some proper video game sets. So in this video, I'm going to make 3 custom Lego sets, all based on iconic video games we all grew up with. And once again, I have loads of Lego pieces, so maybe you can guess what's coming up. One of the most iconic video games is Mario Kart, and the latest in the series is no exception. Many of the tracks are from all of the previous games, and always the hardest one to play, and also to build, is Rainbow Road, so of course that's the one we're going to be building. My favourite version of Rainbow Road is the SNES version, and to get started we're going to need a rainbow of colours. Now I have a lot of these different coloured elements, but the problem is they all need to go next to each other in a grid formation, and that's already where our first problem lies. Although the track is a grid, we can't just simply lay out tiles next to each other, as there is a tiny gap between each section of the grid. And unfortunately we can't just lay out these tiles between the studs because that just creates too much of a gap. Now ideally we want to be building this vertically and then laying on its side, using a plate between each section of colour to give us that gap we're looking for. And although that would work horizontally, unfortunately it doesn't really work vertically, as when we lay this down, unfortunately there's not going to be any connection point. In comes this bracket piece. With enough of these we should be able to make a big enough grid and put colour between them to match what we see in the games. But we can't really have Mario Kart sets without, well, Mario Karts. And as I want this set to scale well with minifigures, I thought that's the first thing we should tackle. Using some inspiration I got from online, I came up with a pretty cool kart design. So cool in fact that it even has steering. But while I was working on that, I was also working on a tiny bit of track, and I think this technique is going to work really well, just swapping colours as we go. As I got on with the grid, I realised this was going to be a much bigger task than I thought. Turns out each little cube is like 4 or 5 pieces, which doesn't sound so bad on the surface, but when you have to do loads of them, it becomes a really repetitive task. So I just thought, while we're getting on with that, we should take a look at our next...
Looks like someone wasn't ready for Freddy to come to the party.
Believe it or not, Five Nights at Freddy's is actually one of my favourite video game series. The innocent-looking furry bear may make you think this series is for kids, but turn the lights off and it's hiding a truly terrifying story.
Was that the bite of 87?
My favourite game out of the many that exist is definitely the first one that kicked it all off, and if you ask me, it's the most iconic of the series. Starting out, we're going to need a base, and thankfully, this base is super interesting. Of course, we're going to do our standard black border, but surprisingly, I've never had to make a checkered floor before. And using the office in the game as a reference, I wasn't sure whether to go with 1x1 tiles or 2x2 tiles. But after testing out both, I ended up going with the bigger ones, putting a couple of these pieces down so we can put stuff on them later. Taking a look back at the game, the walls are very interesting, as it's definitely the place we're going to have to do most of the work. There's some super interesting patterning on the walls, and we need to make sure that we have connection points so we can hang posters and stuff up. But by the power of you hitting that like button and this interesting plate technique, we're going to be able to make up these walls pretty easily. Now obviously, there's massive doors on either side of the room. As you know, that's kind of the only form of protection you have against these killer animatronics. But thankfully LEGO make a fair few door elements, including this door frame and even this grey panel that fits perfectly into them, representing one of the doors. Overall, making the shape of the office was pretty easy, as thankfully it's basically just a square. And really the only thing in this office is a desk with a bunch of stuff all over it. To get that shape, I'm going to use a couple of these pieces, and then litter this desk with tiles and these little tiny monitors, using these bricks with just a clear front. Oh, and you can't forget this cupcake. This model is really starting to come together. We just need to add our final little details, like this chair, these door lights, and this phone using this really nice printed piece. I spent a little bit more time making the model look a bit more rundown, making some of these cardboard boxes to put at the back, scrunched up paper all over the floor, cans everywhere, and I even replaced some of the tiles with cracked ones, just to make this place look proper beaten up. Now all we need to do is add our minifigures, oh yeah, there's one crucial thing we're missing, and then we can call it done. But we ain't done yet, we got another set to make. And why not make one of the most popular games in human history? I reckon everybody at least watching this video has had to have played it at least once. That's right, it's none other than Minecraft. So we all know that feeling when you load up Minecraft for the first time. You wake up, you punch a tree, still kinda not knowing what's going on, but through all the trial and error, you make your way through the game, gathering materials, building yourself a nice house, even finding yourself in a few precarious situations. And after fighting mob after mob, and venturing halfway across your world, you eventually find yourself a stronghold. A dark and dangerous place full of zombies and skeletons, and at the heart of the dungeon lies the end portal. And I thought that's what we should make, a truly iconic location from the game that every single person will encounter once in a full playthrough. Now weirdly, I thought this was going to be one of the smallest sets out of today's models, considering I thought the end portal room wasn't very big. Well, yeah, this isn't going to be a small model. Now the end portal room doesn't have many details, but there are a few basic things we're going to need to replicate this scene. Starting with these two lava pools on either side of the room. I'm going to use some of these special bricks to make up some of the border, as they kind of have the correct texture of this room, as the entire room is made out of stone bricks. As you can see, building up the lava pools is a relatively easy task. It's just trying to make sure everything is in a block formation, and even making the lava just a little bit lower than the block, like it is in the game, are just these little details that I think will take this model to the next level. And now with the lava pools either side of the room in, and this one in the middle, I think it's time to tackle some of the other details in the room. Like, what are we going to do about these walls? Now, as this room is deep underground, it's hard to work out what to do with the walls because I don't want to cover everything up here. So to combat this, I'm going to give some illusion to the walls, but not really build them up fully at all, almost like the stronghold has been isolated on the surface, with only some of the walls being brought with it. One thing I did find really enjoyable about building the walls though are these iron bar pieces. I used a relatively clever technique using these newer pieces that I think really match the game very well. As for the portal itself, it's actually really annoying because in the game, the portal floats. Now, as Lego bricks don't have magical levitation properties in real life, we're going to need to come up with another idea to make this thing float. The obvious answer is to just use clear bricks, but if you ask me, I don't think that looks very nice. So taking a look back at the room, I think we're going to have to utilize the fact that the stairs butt up against the portal and try and use that to get us a floating portal. Now, if I'm honest, this was definitely the hardest part of the build. I couldn't work out for the life of me how to get the stairs to be 5 plates high. For those of you who don't know, stacking 5 plates on top of each other make a full cube. Not even official Minecraft sets adhere to this rule, meaning all of the Minecraft sets that you own start to look really cursed if you look at them too long. And although I didn't want to give in on this rule, whenever I stacked up these stairs to 5 plates high, I just couldn't get them looking even. It was either the bottom stair was too tall or the top stair was too tall, and it made the whole staircase look funny. But unfortunately, I just couldn't think of a technique that would allow us to do the stairs in a full proper way. I'm just hoping this isn't about the what that's gone on.
Whoa, Tommy, let's hang on a second. Making game-accurate stairs is actually a bit more easy than you might think. LEGO has really been going all out on developing all sorts of different brackets over the last decade or so. And what's special about a bracket is that that thin part is exactly half a plate tall. And if we're clever with our LEGO math here, we can actually use that half a plate to create some game-accurate stairs. Check this out. All you need is a handful of parts to make this work. Put these together in the right color, of course, and you've got yourself a game-accurate stair. It's gonna make your stairs go from this to this. And yeah, it's a lot of pieces, but this super clean look is totally worth it.
Oh, well, I mean, thanks, Cheesy. That's actually helped loads. With the stairs now fixed, this assembly can be added to the main model. However, I 100% think there's still a few things missing. Of course, we need to add our minifigs, and for good measure, I think I'm going to throw a few things you'd normally see in a stronghold, like bookshelves, cobwebs, and potions. Even this double chest so they can store some of the loot that they get from the Ender Dragon. Now all I need to do is add the silverfish spawner, some ender eyes to the portal, and we have our Minecraft set. And that got me thinking, do you guys want to build these models? Well, if you do, I'm giving them away for free over on my members Discord. If you're a member, you can go over there and download them from the instructions tab. Members get a load of benefits like badges next to their name and exclusive looks at projects that are coming up in the future. Not to mention behind the scenes and an exclusive project that's just for members' eyes. And we're doing weekly calls where you get to talk to me and tell me your ideas. So if you want these instructions for free, consider becoming a member. It's probably the biggest thing you can do to help the channel apart from buying from my website directly. And I look forward to meeting a bunch of you guys that join the Discord. But it isn't over yet. I hope you haven't forgotten the Rainbow Road set still isn't complete. And since building those 2 models, in the meantime, I've been finishing up this floor. And although it was a tedious task, it's definitely given the illusion of it being a Rainbow Road. Pair this along with the carts that we made earlier, and we could just call it a day here. But no Mario Kart set would be complete without a question mark block, so you can unleash hell onto the circuit. And one of the most OP items is definitely Bullet Bill. So I thought we need one of them on this model. And with a few simple pieces, we can technically have another player added to our model. This model is turning out great, and I love all 3 of the sets we made today, but this one is definitely turning into one of my favorites, and I guess the only thing that we have to do to complete this model is add our minifigures. I'm going to put me in the top car, and then as they don't make a Mario Kart minifigure just yet, I think the only right thing to do is add Chris Pratt.